Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about the planet Jupiter and what Jupiter means in astrology, how it affects you depending on the sign that your planet Jupiter falls into. Sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign are the three most important parts of your chart. But you also have a Mercury sign, a Venus sign, a Mars sign, a Jupiter sign, a Saturn sign, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto signs, which those last three are all generational. Various other things in your chart as well. Today we're going to talk about Jupiter, and what Jupiter is in astrology is very philosophical. He is the planet of luck. He's the planet of expansion. He's the planet of growth, wisdom. I mean, like higher wisdom. It can be quite existential at times as well. Another thing that Jupiter is known for is higher education. We have education while we're growing up, and then we go to high school, and then what happens beyond that, whether or not we go to college or decide to get some kind of certification, that is going to be found within our Jupiter and the sign that it falls into, as well as the house that it falls into. And that's everything really. It's always very, very, very important to check not only your houses, but also the aspects that are made between your different planets and your different houses and your different signs. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Jupiter through the signs, shall we? So if your Jupiter is in Aries, Aries, I love talking about Aries because this one is a good one. This one's a really good one. I just love this one because this is someone who's like, I'm cool, I'm funny, I'm gonna have a good time here. I can be a little bit arrogant, but you know what? I don't just walk around like my shit doesn't stink, you know? It's more like, I'm going places, I'm lucky, I'm successful, and I know it, right? This is somebody who knows that they're going places. They know what they're going to do. They know how they're going to do it. They know how to get around obstacles. They know that they've had good luck. They know that they're fortunate. They know it. They don't need anybody to tell them. They don't need a pat on the back. They don't need it. They know. They are very, very confident people. And they can come off arrogant and condescending at times. But not really. Because they do have that higher wisdom here. So this tones down a bit the usual Aries kind of dominating personality. So it's not just going to be all up in your face like somebody who is rising Aries could be if they're struck in a negative way. If somebody's like, you know, you're a loser or you're not successful, whatever, they're going to be like, bro, listen, you know what? I ain't even got time for this. I know I am. Bye. That is Jupiter Aries. They're not going to play with you. They don't care. They know that they're lucky, they're fortunate. They love it, and they're appreciative, they're grateful. And they are not going to take it for granted. But they might lose their patience sometimes. Now, this is where Aries, Jupiter falls a little bit. They don't have much patience, but they know. Now, if your Jupiter is in Taurus, then you might have grown up a little wealthy, or if you didn't grow up wealthy, then you may have grown up just always kind of having money, or just being able to find money very easily. So if there was ever a point where you felt like you were going to struggle with money or anything like that, then last minute, oh, there's money. What? Where did that come from? How did it get there? I don't know, maybe because my Jupiter is in Taurus. So this is also somebody who is in their head a lot. It's kind of split, this one is, because it's like they're distracted in two different ways. They're distracted by their daily life. So this is probably someone who may look at the news every day when they get up. This is somebody who's, you know, very routine. Somebody who doesn't really like to break routine, and they're very distracted by their own routine. At the same time, when they do fall into deep thought, they stay there, and they really have profound realizations or existential information they feel coming through to them, and it's very sudden. When it happens, they can come off kind of dreamy. They may seem kind of detached to their environment, while at the same time they're very much looking into what's going on around in the world. So they may be on their phone, they may be on their laptop or on their computer, or watching stuff on TV, documentaries about society. They're very interested in the world, but at the same time, when it comes to what's going on in their direct environment, they may seem a little distracted. They don't realize it. They're kind of humanitarians. They kind of want to see good things happen happen, but at the same time, they're kind of focusing on bad things that are happening because they want so badly to see the world turn into this beautiful, glorious dream that they have, that they hold in their minds, but they're just always reminded by the ugly things that are going on. With this placement here in Taurus, this is somebody who really, 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 really likes to just relax and enjoy themselves. They're also very lucky. If they lost that, they may panic a bit. This is when you might see them a little bit flustered, a little bit nervous. But any other time, nope, you hardly get any reaction at all. And they may internalize things and feel a lot going on, but you know, on the surface, they really seem to hold it together very well. If your Jupiter is in Gemini, you were probably one of those kids who grew up like playing mad scientist. You maybe mixed things up, came up with like all these concoctions and things, created things, invented little things. You've always probably been very sociable. You probably have a really big circle of friends if you don't know everyone. You like to talk, you like to make jokes, and sometimes you can come off kind of corny, but it's just part of your style and people love that about you. Sometimes people may have a hard time getting to you when it comes to things that are higher topics, such as when they want to talk about philosophy or aliens or God or anything like that. You may be kind of put off because you're very scientific and you're very rational and logical, and you don't really like to delve into topics that feel unreal or haven't been proven. Just something to think about. Philosophy is the precursor to science. Without philosophy, a scientist would never really be able to answer questions that a philosopher may impose on him. Just saying. So there's many things that we found in the world and in the universe that we at one time believed wasn't real or was just a theory, and now we've proven it to be true. I'm sure you already know that. And the older they get, the more philosophically drawn they become. You're really good at numbers, you're really good at science, you're really good at communicating ideas, you're really good at tuning into things. Could be someone who is like just always on their phone, always on some kind of electronic device. They're always talking to someone, they're always learning something, doing something. They're just addicted to it and they don't really know how to go without it at times. But you can also be very, very productive in this way as well. If your Jupiter is in Cancer, then you are likely someone who's lucky enough to have inherited a home from your family, from your grandparents, from friends or whatever. You may even, if not that, have gone into real estate or work with homes in some way. Maybe you're a home designer, maybe you cut lawns, I don't know. It can be bigger, it can be small, it just depends on your aspects, your house that your Cancer Jupiter falls into and all that jazz. This is someone who's quite nurturing, can come off a little bit bossy, especially when they're a child. They always think that they know best or think that they have authority in some way. These are like little Hermione Grangers. But as adults, they become a little quiet, but also sociable at the same time. So they love to socialize, especially when it comes to family, when it comes to a close-knit circle, their friends. They really need to have that. They really love that. They really like the comfort of being at home. They usually have a really nice home. You know, it's like something that smells really good, and it's got like comfortable sofas and rugs, and it's just really homey. They just kind of make it nice wherever they go. This sign also has a bit of a tendency to avoid confrontation, and there might be something stirring. They don't really like to have that tension, and when they finally do lose their temper, if it comes to that, well, you know, it might get pretty hot. They're gonna try to make it not come to that. They really don't. They don't like to argue. They don't like to fight. They like for everything to be loving. They like for everything to go as smoothly as possible. If your Jupiter is in Leo, then you're probably someone who works really hard, but you're probably also someone who really likes nightlife, who likes to get out, who likes to go on adventures and have fun. So you're probably one of those people who can stay up all hours of the night and then still are able to get up and go to work, and people are like, you know, I have to go home and I have to go to bed, and you're like, so what? No, just stay up and hang out with me. This sign is also really idealistic with this planet. The reason for that is because Leos are very dramatic, and Jupiter is, you know, all about the growth, the expansion, and the higher wisdom. So when you pair them together, This is somebody who sees that idea, who sees that growth, who sees that the possibilities of things in a very dramatic way. So this is somebody who, unlike most signs, is easily able to, and one of the very few who can do this successfully. But this sign can be in a long distance relationship, and it actually works for them because they can idealize the relationship from a distance, and they can see all of the great things about it without all the issues that come with it when you're with someone very frequently, and still be loyal if they choose, because they idealize it so much that they're able to keep up with it happily. The only thing negative about this placement is that I think that this placement can have just a little bit of a tendency to take something personal or take something as offensive when no offense was meant. So let's say someone makes a comment and it really is indirect. This person might be the type of person who thinks that it's about them or takes any form of criticism as more serious than it was meant to come off, specifically from people that they don't know. Let's say that they're in a restaurant or something and the waitress says something that can be considered kind of rude. This person may kind of get snippy with them back, thinking that it was toward them. But other than that, the sign is just really idealistic and good-natured. If you have Jupiter in Virgo, like I do, then you are incredibly smart. You are super aware of details. Like, you are the type of person who can walk into a room and there can be a complete and utter disaster, and there's a pin under a pile of crap in the floor under a chair. Later on in that day, someone says, "Have you guys seen this specific pin?" And you're like, "Yep, I saw it. It was underneath that chair, under that pile of crap in that room." You just notice everything when it comes to details. So if there's something that's about focusing on the details, but you feel personally that the details are important, then you're going to be kind of nitpicky about it and kind of make a fuss over something that may not have really been worth the fuss. And this is something that comes with age as well, you know, something that we all learn from. This sign, it's a caregiver. It wants to take care of people, it wants to nurture people, it wants to love people, and it can kind of feel like it doesn't really have a place in the world. If there's no one that it can currently take care of, if there's no one that needs them. And that's kind of the thing about this sign too. It likes to feel needed. If it doesn't feel needed, then it kind of feels purposeless or meaningless, which is sad. You know what? We all have to learn to love ourselves, and that's something that I'm still working on as well. I wouldn't say that this sign is very, very lucky. It kind of has to make its own luck, and all of its luck comes from its intelligence usually, and the details of things, and putting those details into something, and that I think that's where it finds its success. If your Jupiter is in Libra, you can sometimes put yourself out just because you feel like it is unfair that you may be winning or ahead in some way. Let's say that you got the lead of some type of play or something. It's almost like some of these people who have this will almost want to give it up just because they feel bad that it's the lead and other people didn't get the lead. Someone who may seriously drop everything that they're doing to make sure that so-and-so is not upset with them or mad at them because it bothers them so much. They're such peacemakers. They have, I would say, out of all of the signs and all of the planets, this one, because Jupiter is the planet of growth, Libra is the sign of equality and justice. When you put these two together, this is the one that's really, really hell-bent on making everything right. They don't like to feel like they're the tension. They don't want to think they're the ones causing any upsets anywhere. They just want it to be peaceful. They're going to make it right, but sometimes the sign, unfortunately, tries to make it right so hard that they end up losing good things for themselves. They just can't stand to feel like they're taking anything from anyone else, and they will gladly, fall on their sword just to make everyone aware that this is the type of person that they are, that they're here for you, that they're very trustworthy and they're very loyal, and they're probably not going to talk bad about you if they say that they're not going to talk bad about you. If they have good things to say about you, then they're going to have good things to say about you elsewhere. This is just how this sign is. Just make sure, Jupiter Libra, that you are taking your fair share and not giving it up for others. It is okay for you to win. It's okay. If your Jupiter is in Scorpio, then you are someone who uses their psychic ability to get you through life. You always depend upon what you know psychically to get you anywhere. You don't need to ask anyone's approval. You don't need to ask for anyone's opinion. You know intuitively where you're going and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And this is all just from your gut feelings. You're very, very aware of your environment. You're even aware of some people's secrets that they keep inside of them, and you're not sure of it, but you definitely have an idea of, things that people keep to themselves just based on your instincts. You're very instinctive. You always follow your feet, and that's your lead. That's how you get where you're going. You're not going to listen to anyone else. If someone tries to give you their 2 cents, you simply respond with how you feel intuitively. And if you disagree, you don't have an issue with saying, I disagree. You're still going to go by what you believe. And that is amazing because not many people possess this quality. But it can keep you from keeping an open mind at times. This can limit you to the new information that you take in. However, you are naturally very, very intelligent. And this also stems from the information that you get intuitively. This is someone, you can be definitely book smart, but this is definitely somebody who is also very street smart. Find something that you enjoy doing. You may obsess over it a bit. If you don't have something to obsess over, then you may feel a little stir crazy or bored. You just always seem to have something, maybe 2 or 3, that you can kind of obsess over and dig into really deeply. This sign here is about discovery. This sign is about learning all there is to know about anything. Anything you can get your hands on that interests you, you're gonna dig so deeply that you hit the very, very bottom. If your Jupiter is in Sagittarius, then you might be someone who is considered really lucky by others. You might seemingly get things quite easily. You might just earn things, or you might just acquire things. You might just get the raise that you want, that every other coworker also wants. There's no obvious reason why you got it and they didn't, so you must just be lucky. And maybe you know that you're lucky. You're probably someone who also goes through life naturally looking for wisdom. You always kind of have the desire to learn something deeper. You're a really good teacher. You could be a teacher as your job. If you're not a teacher, then you're probably someone who just naturally teaches. So anything that you learn, really learn it very well by actually teaching other people. You can also be kind of hard to relate to at times because you're so philosophical that some people may see you as somebody who's almost too dreamy or somebody who is not grounded. You may sound opinionated at times. It's not that you think that you're better than everyone else. It's not that you think that you know more than anyone else. It's really just the way that you can come off, just very matter-of-factly, as if your opinion is a fact. You are not someone who is going to shy away from sharing philosophical ideas. This is Jupiter's home. It loves to be in Sagittarius. So when it is, it feels so natural. It feels so at ease. So when it comes to teaching and it comes to wisdom and it comes to philosophy and things like that, because that is what Sagittarius and Jupiter are kind of all about. So when you put them together, they're just very comfortable expressing themselves, and they're very comfortable going to that higher place to acquire wisdom. I think the only drawback to that is that it has a hard time admitting that it may not know everything. They're very well versed in a lot of areas. They have a lot of knowledge, but they don't know everything, and they don't like this. If your Jupiter is in Capricorn, this makes you someone who is very ambitious. I wouldn't say that Jupiter is very comfortable here. Capricorn is usually ruled by Saturn, and you can kind of think of Jupiter and Saturn as not enemies, but they definitely don't see eye to eye necessarily. Jupiter seems much softer. It's going to teach lessons in a very soft way. It's going to show you the higher mind in a very eloquent kind of way. Polite professor in college, whereas Saturn is a very strict kind of father figure, has the purest intentions for you, but unfortunately it has to discipline you to get you there, to fulfill those high potentials. And so with Capricorn, it can be very cold and can be very closed off at times while being grounded and responsible. With Jupiter, it almost kind of cuts it off a bit. So it becomes more cold toward philosophy, information that is not scientifically proven. It's a little bit more stubborn and rigid when it comes to ideas that may differ quite a bit from what's normal, because this placement is very much a traditionalist. And although it's ambitious and usually very successful, it can sometimes feel dissatisfied within itself because it just feels like it's lacking something. I think it just needs to be a little bit more flexible. If your Jupiter is in Aquarius, you are quite an inventor of ideas. You could be a writer, you could be someone who just creates so much out of absolutely nothing. You don't need to be given anything, and you don't need a certain situation to play out for you to pull information out of the air. You may be a person who feels like you have guardian angels, spirit guides. You just feel like you're always surrounded by something kind of holding you, watching you, keeping you safe. Aquarius, it is ruled by Uranus, or Uranus. I gotta be careful about that. Uranus is the planet of invention. It's the planet of electricity, of lightning. This placement here with it being with Jupiter. Jupiter is wisdom. So imagine having all of this wisdom acquired through the use of forward-thinking ideas. You could literally be someone who is a seer or a prophet. You know, you may just get information and ideas from seemingly the ether because you've got Jupiter in Aquarius. I know it's getting dark. This is it. If your Jupiter is in Pisces, so Pisces is usually somebody who is psychic. And Jupiter is a planet that is going to give you higher wisdom. Putting these two things together, this makes you somebody who's very compassionate. You have a lot of philosophical ideas, and they're very much grounded in the things that you wish to change. But when it doesn't pan out that way, you are very disturbed by it. You don't like the darkness, and yet you frequently go there. And you frequently go there because sometimes with great power also comes great responsibility. Anybody know what that quote is from? 10 points to whatever Hogwarts house you're in. If you can tell me, I'll give you a hint. It's Marvel. You're somebody who's just going to gain insight and awareness into a lot of different scenarios within the people that you care about, and sometimes you're going to get let down. You can be very sensitive in this area because this information is not always welcome. It's very uncomfortable sometimes, and you don't always know how to deal with it because you are so caring and so compassionate. You might be perceived as someone who's very sensitive, but you're not just someone who's sensitive. You're incredibly strong. You take all of this in because if you can't handle it, nobody can. You know that deep down. You keep getting this insight and this information because you can handle it. You don't need to take anyone's shit when they're calling you sensitive. No, just say, can you do this job? Can you handle this? Do you know what it's like to be me? Could you be me? Have you ever been me before? I don't think so. I don't know what's wrong with me. Somebody help me. I got problems. But having Pisces and Jupiter ain't one. You dig?